ओम नमः प्रणवार्ताय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् अरुणगिरिमुपेतं सच्चिदानन्दमूर्तिं रमण इति पृथिव्यां विश्रुतं ज्ञानसूर्यं गहनहृदयविद्यां लीलया बोधयन्तं सततमहममेयं सद्गुरुं संस्मरामि। My humble pranams. In our study of Anma Bodham, we are at a crucial phase where Atma Lakshanam and also the sadhana that is required using this Atma Lakshanam has been described by Adi Shankara. The place where we stopped last time talked about a method called as Neti Neti Margam. Na iti, this is not me. Discarding what is not Atman, discarding the Anatman so that one stabilizes in the Atman. That is the method that is suggested. Na iti. Nothing is, this body is not me. The senses through which I see this world and also enjoy, these senses are not me because I am able to see them. They are different from me. They are drishyam, I am the drik, I am the seer. They are different from me, so I am not them. And so on. Manas, buddhi, all these things you discard. And finally what remains is Atman, is the method that is suggested. That is one method. And the next verse that we saw last time also talked about the other method, other Vedic method, and that is known as Aham Brahmasmi. The first one is a negation process, not me, na iti. That is a negation process. This process, Aham Brahmasmi, is an affirmation process. I meditate on Brahman and I realize that I am no different from Brahman. These are two methods that are suggested. Bhagavan has translated these two verses very faithfully. But before proceeding, because this is going to go in the same manner, the theme is going to be the same in the coming verses. But before that, I would like to dwell upon what is Bhagavan's own basic recommendation as a sadhana. It's a very interesting logic that he employs. He says, Neti Margam as well as Aham Brahmasmi Margam, these two methods, they employ the mind. Na iti, the mind says, I am not this indriyas, I am not this body. But when it comes to itself, can the mind really say that I am not the mind and discard it? Who discards the mind? Can the mind discard the mind? This is the logic employed by Bhagavan. He says, can the mind discard the mind? Can the mind discard the buddhi? So there we are stuck. So the mind has to be employed, and it is like, making a thief as an inspector and trying to catch the thief. The mind will not accept to be caught in this particular manner. And go to the other one, Aham Brahmasmi. You should know something about Brahman, and that becomes a concept. There is a conceptual framework that is created about Brahman, all the gunas. In fact, the next few verses are going to be about the Tatastha Lakshanam of the Brahman. So you are going to contemplate on the Brahman, and by this contemplation, the traditional method suggests that ultimately the mind will be purified and it will become one with the Brahman. That's what it says. But even in the affirmation process, Bhagavan says, the mind is kept active. So he is suggesting a path which is neither the negation nor the affirmation. The problem about negation is another thing, because negation is something that is used extensively, almost all the yogis and other. There's another problem about negation. It's a very tricky problem. When you intensely negate something, unwanted thing happens. Bhagavan gives this example. Somebody was suffering from a very cruel disease. He went to many doctors. There was no cure. Finally, he went to one Vaidya and asked him, This is my disease and I am not able to get over this disease by any process. So he said, no, I will be able to cure it. And he gave a medicine. But there is one condition, he said. When you take the medicine, you should not think of the monkey. When you take the medicine, every time you touch the medicine, you should not think of monkey. Will we be able to take the medicine at all? Because we will think that I should not be thinking about the monkey now. This is the tricky problem about any intense negation process. So Bhagavan is suggesting another method which is a neutral method. This method reaches beyond the mind. It is beyond the mental process, mental activity. We know that it is the who am I process, the koham process. What Bhagavan says is, the one who is trying to discard, who is it that is trying to discard all these things? You think that way. Who is it that is trying to discard? Because we never focus attention on the subject I at any time. All our attention is only on the objective world and never on the subjective I. So he says, focus on the subject which is trying to discard everything. Because in order to discard, you have to hold on to something that is real. You must be having a hold on something so that you can discard something else, you can give up something else. And that reality is suggested by this method, who am I? Because the focus is intensely on the subject I, the I sense. And the I sense has got a conscious aspect, apart from the unconscious or the inert aspect. Aham, idam, this combination comes together, but essentially there is an aham. That aham is there with you all the time. So it's not, you don't have to believe in any concept of a Brahman, that it does not have any attributes and this and that. You don't have to believe in any of those things. You can believe in yourself, the sense I, that is there with everybody. There is one thing that cannot be negated at all the time available. Catch hold of that. Be with this aham, and it will take you there. So this is the method. So the immediate presence of the subject I is what you should catch hold of, and it is something beyond the mind. The mind is actually only the vrittis, but this is a vritti which is of a very special nature, which has got a conscious aspect also embedded in it. So this will take you there. In fact, the very interesting thing is, in his Bhakti Grantham, the devotional hymn to Arunachala, in the very heart of that, we sang that some time back. There are two verses, one after the other, where Bhagavan makes an appeal to Arunachala. Please, Arunachala, please clarify this to me. And then the next verse, and this is what Arunachala told me. He says in the next verse, Tane Tane Tattuvamidanai Tane Kattuvai Arunachala. Which means the reality is self alone. Tane Tan Tattvam. But please confirm this to me, Arunachala, he says, and make me realize that. Tane Kattuvai, make me realize this particular thing. Is the appeal that is made in the previous verse. And the next verse he says, Tirumbi Ahandanai Dinam Ahakkangan Teriyum Entranai en Arunachala. Arunachala, you told me, turn your mind inward and put all the attention on the I sense. Ahamdanai Dinam Ahakkangan. Keep paying attention to this I. Then what will happen? Arunachala, you told me, Teriyum. It will reveal itself. No words can describe that. If the mind can describe something, then take it for granted that it is not it. So he leaves it at that. You will experience it. It has to be experienced and not known. It cannot be known. Like we know any other object in this world, we cannot know that. Because the very factor that makes you know things is only that. How can you know that? Which is the element that which is ingrained in every one of your perception. So you cannot know that. You can only be that. So that is the method that is suggested. And this is embedded in the devotional hymn of Bhagavan. So he says, the method is turn the mind inwards. It looks very simple. There is only one step involved in it. That step is turning the mind inward. Even that is a very great attempt. The mind is basically designed to look out. Bahirmukha Sudurlabha, it says in Lalita Sahasranam. When the mind is outbound, it cannot be seen. You cannot see her. Antarmukha Samaradhya. So Antarmukhatvam is what is recommended. And this first step, if you are able to do that, the next step is continue with that. Don't let go. For a second, we'll be able to catch hold of that eye sense. And immediately the mind is thrown out. But the next step is to hold on to it. Dinam ahakkan kan, constantly, without getting tired. It's endurance. Endurance is what is recommended. So constantly look at it and you will be able to get it. So the advantage of this is that it is not applicable only to one section of the people who believe in Brahman and all these Vedic Vakyas. Anybody can do this because I is common to everybody. In fact, I is the first name of God, says Bhagavan. I is applicable to everybody, whether somebody is in Alaska or in Australia. It's the same. So it is a universal principle, and so it must be very highly appealing. And this is precisely what Bhagavan keeps talking about. He says, Aham Brahmasmi, and these things are valid methods. He is not negating them. He is not saying don't do that. They are valid methods. But I am going to suggest something which is going to be even more direct than the other two, which is applicable not only to some advanced people, but also to everybody. Everybody can pass. Whatever one is doing, one can pass, and then for a moment think, who am I who is doing this job? In fact, this is the advice he gave to, first advice that Kavyakanta Ganapati Shastri received from Bhagavan was only this advice. This person who was so well read in all the Vedas, all the Shastras, all the Upanishads, a person who was constantly doing tapas, and anybody who looked at him knew that he was a highly specialized, very highly advanced spiritual man. He had this difficulty. He says, I am not able to finally do tapas as it is supposed to be done. There is something lacking in the whole thing. And there is no peace for me. I have not got that peace. And then he remembers the Brahmana Swami that he met in the Virupaksha cave. Bhagavan must have been around 21 at that time, or maybe a little more. Bhagavan was not speaking at that time. He was keeping maunam. But when he saw this great Shastri falling at his feet, almost sobbing, saying that Bhagavan, I have done crores of japam. And the advice that he gave him was, when you are doing japam, first time he spoke. In fact, he was exercising the vocal cords after a very long time. He had to train the vocal cords to speak at that time. He spoke and then he said that you are doing japam. Find out where from this japa mantram is arising within you. Pass the japam, look within. So any practice that you are doing, you can integrate this practice also along with that, and the progress will be greater. Because this pause and then keeping the attention on the self is the most important thing, because I is the clue. So this is the method that Bhagavan has suggested. Of course, he has translated all these verses, but Bhagavan's own, recommendation has been this particular thing. So do this. Aham Brahmasmi, Neti Neti Margam, or valid. But once in a way, just think about this factor. Who is it that is discarding this thing? Who is it that is saying that I am Brahman? Who is this I? And you apply that to anything. Whatever you are doing, pause and then ask this question. Is there any answer to that? In fact, in the beginning when Bhagavan was recommending people who are brought up in the Vedic tradition, they were thinking that, okay, we have to give this answer, Aham Brahmasmi, that is what is said in the Upanishads. Then Bhagavan corrected them. No reply that the mind gives can be right. Mind cannot give the right reply because it does not know. So it is not a reply as we normally get a reply for a question. It is an experience. That inner movement, conscious movement, is what is intended. You feel that beingness, that total silence of the mind. You experience it. That is the answer. And keep experiencing it. Don't leave it. Because immediately the clouds will gather and then close it. The clouds of our thinking come and then close it immediately. Keep thinking. Don't give up. It's not very easy, but it's a simple step. Repeated. So what is required is patience and endurance. So with this small introduction, I will go to the verse that is there for today. The verses are, verse number is 32. We saw 31 last time. Verse number 32. உடலுக்கு வேறென எனக்கு உடலுக்கு வேறு எனக்கு உண்டாதல் மூத்தல் ஒடுக்குன்றல் சாவு முதல் ஒன்றா படர்ந்த ஒலிமுற் புலன்களோடு ஒன்றல் எனக்கு இன்றே அலன் பொறிகள் யானாதல் யான் ஆதலால் யான் பொறிகள் அலன் ஆதலால். That's what he says in Tamil. And the original Sanskrit verses, Dehan Anyatvan Name Janma Jara Karshya Layadayah Sabdadi Vishayehi Sango Nirindriyaya Nacha. Says the verse, what it means is Dehan Anyat, I am different from, I am apart from the body. And so the Deha Dharmas, all the attributes of the Deha, of the body, do not apply to me. Ondra, the word Ondra that Bhagavan uses, they do not apply to me. They apply to the Deham. And what are the things that happens to this body? It is born, and then it grows, it becomes old, and starts becoming weak, and finally there is death to the body. The body dies. So all these changes are applicable. Whereas we say that I am becoming old, I am becoming infirm, I am going to die, I will die. These kind of things we are imposing on me. And the real I is not associated with the body at all. This is what we have to remember all the time. Dehat anyatvat name janma, there is no birth for me. Jara, old age. Karshya, Karshya is a word that is weakening, becoming lean, decaying. All these things are implied in this word Karshya. Layadayaha, layam is finally the death. Layam for the body, it happens. Adayaha, this is etc. he says. Shabdadi Vishayehi Sangena Nirindriyaya Nacha. I am not associated with the Indriyas also. All the things that happen to the Indriyas, the senses, they are not me. The senses are not me. So whatever applies, because you are able to hear well when you are young, the hearing goes. You are able to see well, sight goes. So the Indriyas will keep changing, but I am not the Indriyas, so there is no change in me. That is the way in which the whole thing has to be understood, says Shankara. So when we say these things, we have absolutely no idea what this is talking about. I am not the body. Are we able to say that? Yes, intellectually we are able to say, I am not this body. But what is it exactly? That is why Jnanis like Bhagavan, they have come on the scene. There are innumerable incidents where Bhagavan demonstrated that he was not the body. Unbelievable. It seems once he was walking with Annamalai Swami, And he casually mentioned to Annamalai Swami on the mountain. Only they two were there in that walk. So it seems he told Annamalai Swami that I have no feeling of weight at all of this body. I feel weightless. It is as though that I am floating in the air. That is my feeling. I don't feel the weight of the body at all. He said this. He said like this to many people, including Kavyakanta. I mentioned about it in one of the other things. One other time he was walking with his friend Rangan. Rangan was his classmate in Madurai. They were studying in the same class. And he was known as the naughty Rangan. Anyway, they were very close to each other. But without even telling him, Bhagavan came from Madurai, he came to Tiruvannamalai. So after many years when Rangan met Bhagavan, the first question was, oh, you did not even tell me. Even the previous day you were talking to me, you did not tell me. It seems Bhagavan told him, I myself did not know. If I knew, then I would have told you, but I myself did not know I was going to take that decision. Bhagavan has taken in just a second that decision to leave everything and come to Tiruvannamalai. We know that. He was walking with Rangan in the inner circuit of Annamalai Pradakshanam, the Tiruvannamalai Girivalam. There is an inner path very close to the hill, full of stones and thorns and impossible to really walk. And Bhagavan, as we know, never wore any chappals. He was walking and Rangan also did not wear any chappal. They were walking and suddenly Rangan cried out from behind. He cried in pain. So Bhagavan turned back and your Rangan was seen limping. He asked him, what happened? Oh, a thorn. The thorn pierced me. So Bhagavan made him sit on a rock there and then he bent down, located the thorn and removed the thorn. Then after some time Rangan was also able to proceed with the walk along with Bhagavan. Bhagavan proceeded and Rangan followed. Then Rangan really saw Bhagavan stepping on a thorn. Then he said, Bhagavan, please stop. There's a thorn in your foot and let me now remove the thorn. So it seems Bhagavan smiled, turned around, smiled and asked Rangan, which thorn are you going to remove? He did not understand what Bhagavan was referring to. Then when he saw Bhagavan's that foot, the sole, he was full of thorns, all old ones. Bhagavan's way of walking was, if there was a thorn, he will stamp on the ground and slide his foot like this so that thorn breaks. Of course, portion of it will be sticking inside the flesh, but the outer thorn will go and he will continue to walk. So it was almost like a shoe. These thorns were occupying his flesh. Just imagine. That was the level of his body unconsciousness. Not feeling the body at all. Of course, towards the end we know all the operations and so on and so forth. So Bhagavan himself is a study. Had somebody like Bhagavan not come on the scene so very recently and people were having access to him, asked him questions and got answers, these verses would not make any sense to us. It was Brahman himself who took a fleshy form for our sake and briefly was available for about 70 years or so on this earth so that we could interact and know these profound truths to be actual reality. He demonstrated all these Vedic truths by his very life. Nirindriyaha says this. Bhagavan did not have any attachment to any of the senses at all. In 1946, 50 years after he arrived at Tiruvannamalai, 1st of September 1946, there was a big celebration in the ashram. 50 years, Golden Jubilee celebration was there. So they were making all arrangements and Bhagavan asked, what's going on? 50 years after the arrival, Bhagavan, we want to celebrate it. We are going to call a lot of people. We are going to have a 3-day function and all that thing. Oh, is that so? Please do one thing. Please don't ask me to speak. Under that condition, whatever you want to do, you do. Only this, don't ask me to speak. They said yes. And there was a new hall constructed just outside the meditation hall, that place, vacant space, they put a pandal and other things, a lot of people can sit there. And the couch was moved to that place, and Bhagavan in his usual reclining position would sit. And concerts were arranged, people were speaking and all the thing. Bhagavan would be like that. As usual, whether he was inside the meditation hall as usual or outside for this celebration, there was absolutely no difference in his. He was himself. Eyes would be open, but he would be in samadhi, complete samadhi. Once there was a great concert, and I believe the musician of that time was Musiri Subramanya Iyer, a very, very famous, popular Carnatic musician. His concert was arranged, and a lot of great accompanying artists and so on. And just in front of Bhagavan, that stage was created. Bhagavan was lying down. And it was a fantastic concert, I believe, on that day. Everybody enjoyed it. Especially because of Bhagavan's presence, he had a lot of enthusiasm, the singer. So he sang to his heart's content, and it was a great success. And of course, the Sanmanam and other things were done, and the whole concert came to an end. Everybody dispersed. Some of the devotees of Bhagavan went and asked Bhagavan, the concert was fantastic. What do you think? It seems Bhagavan said, I was aware of what was going on till that tamboor, the background swaram that started. Afterwards, I did not know anything at all. What he meant was that he was totally absorbed in this music, these sounds, anything, nothing was gathered. And he said, I believe in Tamil, he said, Ulla oru asami ellam muzhingidana. There is someone inside who swallows everything. Ulla oru asami ellam muzhingidana. So his state was someone inside completely blocks out the worldly happenings, and that Purna Samadhi, that Sahaja Samadhi was his normal state. So these senses also did not make any impression on Bhagavan. Today I took only Bhagavan as the example because there is no other way of explaining any of these verses. The next verse is very, very similar. The next verse is verse number 33. Manam alan nan manam alan means I am not this mind. Adalal man tuyar asai sinam acham adi yenai chera. What are the characteristics of this mind? Bhagavan describes here. Tuyar means sadness, desire, and anger, fear. All these things, they all belong to the mind, so they do not touch me. Yenamaha apranan. Apranan means I am not associated with the pranamaya kosha also. I am apart from this pranamaya kosha. Manamillan Suddhan Endru Marai Cheppuhindradandro Teli. All the Vedas, they say that you are not any of these things. So, all the Vedic Vakyas, they also talk about only this. And this is the original verse. Amanasvat, amanasvat, name dukkha, raga, dvesha, bhayadayaha. All these things are not for me. Aprano, I am not this pranamaya kosam. Hi amanaha, I am not this mind. Shubhra, I am pure. Ityadi, Shruti Shasanat. The Shrutis, they say all these things that I am not the mind. And this is what Bhagavan used to say. I don't have a mind. But he is talking to people. He is doing everything that we are all doing. He is reading paper also, newspaper also. Once there was a foreign devotee. A lot of people recommended her. She was in great trouble, so she wanted to come. She was from an aristocratic family, so she gave a lot of cables to the ashram at various stages of her journey. and kept them informed that I'm now in Kanamara Hotel. In those days, Kanamara Hotel in Madras was the only place where foreigners stayed. I'm in Kanamara Hotel. Tomorrow I will come to Tiruvannamalai ashram and all the thing. When she finally came, there was nobody to receive her. And when she entered the hall, she saw Bhagavan reading newspaper like anybody else. And then, what is this? I was expecting a sage who would be, doing tapas and all the thing. But he is like everybody. He is talking to people. He is reading newspaper. So I believe the same day she left that place, she went back. But she was a fortunate lady because that night she could not sleep at all. She wanted to catch back the ship taking her to England, but she was not able to sleep at all, it seems. And in the morning she had a small dream saying that you came all the way. Why don't you give out one more try? You want to make one more attempt to find out. Somebody is telling her this in her dream. So that day she decided to come back. And second time when she entered, without any announcement, at that time Bhagavan was actually looking eagerly at the doorstep, I believe. He was actually expecting her. So when she entered at that time, I believe he smiled and gave her a huge smile and made her feel comfortable. She writes all these things. And then she continued to stay there for a long time. I misjudged him just because of this fact that he was reading the newspaper. But the fact that he did not operate the mind at all came out during the final stages of his life. So it seems the operations were done, they were not successful, the wound was growing. Everybody was very anxious. Bhagavan had a sister by name Alamelu. People used to call her as Alamu Attai. Alamelu, younger sister of Bhagavan, very close to Bhagavan. She used to take a lot of liberties with Bhagavan. Sister. So she had that liberty. Bhagavan would also talk to her in a very, very normal manner and so on. No Vedantam for her. They all went to her and told her, only you can talk to Bhagavan. Only he can cure himself now. We did all that is possible from our side. Only he can cure himself now. Go and make an appeal to him. Once before, Bhagavan's mother saw an accident happen to Bhagavan. There was a rock that fell on Bhagavan's hand, and I believe this thumb got dislocated, completely dislocated. It was hanging down and mother started crying. So then Bhagavan realized that something was wrong with his finger. It was hanging down. And then he knew that mother was crying because of that reason. So I believe he just took his hand and then put it back again. It became all right. He said, you see, please don't cry. Everything is all right now. So people remembered that. So told Alamelu, go and tell Bhagavan that he has to keep his hand on that place where this operation and other things are done. And has to have a sankalpam that it should all get cured. Then he will become cured. Go tell him that. They were hesitating to go to him and then tell him all these things. They were very afraid of going to Bhagavan and suggesting all this. So she went. She went and told, Bhagavane, all this has happened to your body. Wouldn't you now take this hand, keep it on this, and have this thought that this should get cured? You will get cured. Why are you now troubling us by prolonging this illness? See, Bhagavan was amused by that. He said, Alamu, you are saying that I am having a body. That body has got two hands. One hand is totally, diseased. The other one is a good hand. So I should lift the good hand, put it on the diseased hand, and have a thought in my mind that this should get cured. Is that what you are saying? She said, yes, exactly. She was thinking that Bhagavan would do that now. All that is fine, but where will I go for a mind to do all these things? இதெல்லாம் பண்ணுறதுக்கு மனசுன்னு ஒன்று எங்கே வச்சு வாழறது? எனக்கு கலோக்கியல்வே மனசுன்னு ஒன்று எங்கே வச்சு வாழறது? Where is the mind for all these things? Even at that time, there was absolutely no sankalpa. If one doctor wanted to do one method of, treatment, he would allow that. Simultaneously, there was a Siddha Vaidya doing all kinds of horrible things on his hand, and there were homeopathy doctors giving him all kinds of horrible medicines, and he would please them, otherwise he will feel bad. That was the only thought that he had. He will feel bad. So he would take both. And finally, everything was stopped, and people themselves, they went and told him, Bhagavan, we will stop all these things. This has gone beyond anybody's bearing. They were not able to bear this. But he continued with that. No mind state was totally seen in this particular manner. So, unless we saw Bhagavan, unless we had the opportunity, we couldn't have believed that this is possible for anybody to live without a mind, because without a mind, what is man? There is no man without mind. That no mind state is the one that is the characteristic of, defining characteristic of Bhagavan. There was once a commission of inquiry, we all know that. An attendant who was very close to Bhagavan, he decided to file a suit case, because he file a case against him, a suit against him in the High Court, saying that as a sannyasi he cannot possess anything, he is possessing an ashram, he is also willed it to somebody else. How can he do all the things? Some case was there. And finally, because of various circumstances, finally it was decided that the court itself will come to the ashram, and there will be a commission of inquiry, there will be a magistrate, and there will be a lawyer on both sides, and they will come and then talk to Bhagavan. The lawyer of the opponent lawyer, he grilled Bhagavan various questions. You are a sannyasi, how can you have property? How can you will it? All kinds of things. Bhagavan very patiently, without any kind of a this thing, he answered all the questions. 4 hours, 5 hours, the lawyer got exhausted. He exhausted all his questioning. Bhagavan was absolutely unperturbed. He quoted from the Puranas, he quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, he quoted from various things to show that there is a class known as, people who are Ativarnashramis, who do not belong to any ashramam or any varnam. They are transcendent people. No rule binds them, they are beyond all rules. He quoted from various things, and then finally the lawyer was convinced, and the case was also cancelled and then went away. The lawyer asked him, I believe, we are very sorry, Bhagavan, that we really asked you so many questions, you must be very exhausted now. This is Bhagavan said, no, if you want to continue, you can continue. I did not use my mind to answer your questions. I did not use my mind at all. There was no mind. So from these and 1,000 more incidents, we can gather that it is possible to reach a state where mind is there but does not behave the way in which mind behaves for all of us. There is no desire in that mind. There is no binding capacity of that mind. It's totally a pure mind that for the sake of uplifting others is wearing a body, is living a normal life, answering questions. It's for our sake. He himself need not have continued with his life at all in this manner. He could have gone to any secluded place and we carry all the burden of everybody. He could have done that, but he did not do that. They say the difference between a yogi and a jnani is this. A yogi touches that core. He reaches that pure conscious state and he shuts out the world. And he just, gives up his body in that state of samadhi. But a jnani, after having touched that, the highest state that is possible for people to really know, he comes back for our sake, and lives like a normal person without giving up that. This is the real meaning of avataram, coming down. Coming down is this, avataram. A jnani has reached that stage but has come down for our sake, and then he is continuing to live with us. It is like this. There is a big deep well, and unfortunately a number of people have fallen into that well. They are struggling to come out of that well. They are not able to do that. One person is able to somehow manage to climb out of the thing, and he sees the wide expanse of the world, and he runs into the world because it is so beautiful outside. But there is another man who does the same thing, sees the expanse, the beautiful world outside, but he comes back and he throws a rope down to the well so that others can also come out of that. And this is jnani. Jnani lives for our sake like ordinary person. So though he did not have any mind, he assumed a mind for our sake. So this is the 33rd verse. I will just read out the 34th verse and I will conclude. This is known as the Tatastha Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshanam is when you define something, when you define Atman especially, Vedanta says there are two methods of defining the Atman. One is the actual inherent attributes of the Brahman that is given. It is known as Kutastha Lakshanam. That unchanging attributes will never change. That is known as Kutastham. Tatastha Lakshanam is incidental attributes. Incidental attributes. So this is the Tatastha Lakshanam. It says here, Nirguno, Nishkriyo, Nityo, Nirvikalpo, Niranjanaha, Nirvikaro, Nirakaro, Nitya Muktosmi, Nirmalaha, I. The subjective I is brought out by Shankara from these verses onwards. Nirgunaha, aham nirgunaha, I don't have any attribute at all. Nishkriyaha, I don't have any activity also to do. Nityaha, I am totally eternal. The spirit does not die at all. All other things die, but I don't die. Atman, as Atman, I am Nityam. Nirvikalpaha, Vikalpam is deliberation. Nirvikalpam is non-deliberation. That is, mind is concentrated and it is not moving at all from its position. That is Nirvikalpaha. Niranjanaha, there is no blemish attached to me. Nirvikaraha, I don't have any form at all. Nirakaro, I don't have any form at all. Nirvikaraha, there is no transformation in me, there is no change in me. Nitya Muktosmi, I am liberated all the time. Nirmalaha, I am pure, blemishless. That's what it says. In Viveka Chudamani, there is a very similar verse talking about Jivan Muktas. Jivan Mukta Lakshanam, there is towards the end of Viveka Chudamani, there are a few verses which give out the Jivan Mukta Lakshanam. There is one verse that has captivated me, very similar to this. Nirdhanopi sada tushtaha. Nirdhanopi, he has absolutely no wealth. Sada tushtaha, he is all the time happy. There is no wealth, but absolute happiness. Even people with $1 trillion cannot say that. Nirdhanopi sada tushtaha. Asahayopi mahabalaha. He doesn't have any army to support him. Mahabalaha. He's the most powerful because the Atma Balam is there with him all the time. So, Asahayopi mahabalaha. He is a Mahabali. Asahayopi mahabalaha. Nitya triptopi abhunjanaha. Abhunjanaha means he is not taking in anything. Actually, abhunjanaha means somebody who eats. Here it applies to all the indriyas. Through any of these senses, he does not see, he does not take in anything. When you are in that state, we will call it as a comatose state, a vegetative state. No senses are operating. What is this? We will say. Nitya triptaha. It says all the time content. But absolutely no intake through any of the senses. The final thing is asamaha api samadarshanaha. No one can match him. There could nobody who can asamaha. Nobody can match him. But he thinks that everybody is his equal. Samadarshanaha. Not only a human being, he does not just think that you are me. Even an ant, a crow, a monkey, anything, a snake. People have seen snakes crawling over Bhagavan's body. Scorpion. I believe there was a scorpion climbing over his body, and somebody cried when he was in the Virupaksha times. And he says, don't look at this alone, there is one going behind me in the backside also. Something was climbing down. And I believe he said, they like to climb walls. So if you are like a wall, they won't sting you. If there is a reaction from you, they will sting you. No reaction at all. I don't know. Is it possible to imagine such a state? All these verses are meant to tell us, direct our mind to jnanis like Bhagavan who lived so very recently in our times. So with this I will conclude today's lecture.